almost the weekend. Yeah, almost the weekend. Clap away, my little friends. Happy Friday, everyone. Well, it's been a good week and a bad one. Legendary writer and humorist P.J. O'Rourke passed away. It sucks, but he was kind enough before he went to leave so much behind for all of us. And not just cigar butts and empty whiskey bottles, which sounds like the name of Kat's autobiography. He left us some amazing books like Parliament of Whores, Modern Manners, and the one that changed me, Republican Party Reptile, which is now Liz Cheney's nickname. He also gave us two of the greatest pieces of satire ever written, the National Lampoon 1964 High School Yearbook and the Sunday newspaper parody. O'Rourke was one of the greatest editors of one of the greatest magazines ever, National Lampoon. He may not have written Animal House, but he lived it. He made it happen. And he made me happen, too. Okay, you can't win them all. But he gave me hope and he gave me a path, a place to go for someone who didn't fit in really anywhere. I bring this up tonight because what we're seeing in today's culture is in part PJ's legacy. What he did for the right is make it okay for them to be wrong in the best sense of the word, to be funny, to be loose, to be high, to be horny, which sounds like the name of my autobiography. He told us it's okay to be alive, which was everything the stereotype of the right was not. We didn't always have to be staid or stiff or judgmental, and you didn't have to cede culture to the left. The left had their Abby Hoffmans and their merry pranksters, and O'Rourke said, they might be onto something. And then came Andrew Breitbart, our merry prankster. So O'Rourke's thesis was simple. Politics ruins everything, so fight back with fun. When I was younger, I wrote a piece called The Dean Wormer Effect, based on this fella from the movie Animal House.
0.2. Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son. You're out. Finished at Faber, expelled. I want you off this campus at 9 o'clock Monday morning.
Love him. That's John Vernon. I noted that in every narrative, the framework always stayed the same. We Republicans were always Dean Wormer, and the Dems were Animal House, the cheerful troublemakers, the wise guys. So in every situation, the right had a stick up their ass. Meanwhile, the left had a joint in their mouths. My goal was to flip that script, to reverse the Dean Wormer effect, and my inspiration was PJ. He made it clear that to fight politics, the weapon was always going to be fun. And now it's happening, the big flip. We're having fun, they aren't. It's driving them crazy. And we really didn't have to lift a finger. And when we do, thanks to PJ, it's always the middle one. All it took was a little Trump and a lot of wokeism. Donald Trump showed us that we could be as obnoxious, funny, and feisty as they are and win. Now, PJ was definitely no fan of Trump, but Trump was all Animal House and no Dean Wormer. He was more like Rodney Dangerfield's character in Caddyshack. Americans no longer had to choose between robotic, helmet-haired Hillary Clinton or robotic, helmet-haired Mitt Romney. Somehow a loudmouth billionaire from Queens taught Republicans how to have a good time. In an instant, we found ourselves laughing at the hapless CNN, which became a gibbering Dean Wormer. In fact, their entire lineup became a string of minor wormers shrieking all is well, while the real world ran them over. And now wokeness came along and turned a once tolerant Democratic Party into a political version of Jonestown. Adhere to an ideology or die. The party that once said, keep the government out of my bedroom, is now the party that forces men to bring their lawyer with them on a date. The party that once advocated for a colorblind society now sees pigment, but nothing else. The party that was pro-women now replaces moms with birthing persons. So the Dems are in an all-out panic because voters now think their party is too preachy and judgmental, probably from the constant preaching and judging. The brand is now more toxic than a cup of Drano. That's wokeism, political Drano. They're so puritanical, they make Jerry Falwell look like Gene Simmons. The Democratic Party is now as repressive as a bag full of Ayatollahs, as wokeism has sucked the fun out of everything. I had a friend who, in order to lose weight, would eat some of his meal and then empty an ashtray on the rest. It worked. He stopped eating, and it ruined everyone else's appetite, too. That's what wokeism has done to the Democratic Party, but also to women's sports, awards shows, Disney, our justice system. It's an ashtray loaded with carcinogenic orthodoxy. Because it can't create, all it does is destroy. It's a political construct that forces humans to comport to unnatural demands. That may be fun in bed, but not in politics. It pretended to be about tolerance, intimidating a party through threats of cancellation. Obey, or they will ruin you, using social media and its media accomplices. Like your wife's driving, their success was based on scaring you, not convincing you. So why make a good argument when you can have rioters burning businesses and media hacks doxing private citizens for speaking the truth? That's how they took over the Democratic Party. Then, like Brian Stelter trapped in a Frito-Lay warehouse, they eat everything from the inside. It's funny and cheap. I would say the Dems are Dean Wormer, but right now it's worse. It's Reagan from The Exorcist. Yeah, the party's a child possessed by a demon, which definitely needs an exorcism. Because if it doesn't happen soon, they're toast. Voters deserve more than the bad ideas they barf up like so much split pea soup. I'd like to help, but frankly, I'm having too good a time. And for that, I'd like to say thank you, PJ. Let's welcome tonight's guest. She caused Andrew Cuomo more pain than his rusty nipple ring. Fox News senior meteorologist Janice Dean. He's so patriotic, he sleeps with his hand over his heart. Oklahoma Transportation Commissioner and former Oklahoma Speaker of the House, T.W. Shannon. And her blood type is mojito. Fox News contributor, Kat Timpf. And when there's an earthquake, San Andreas says it's his fault. That's cute. My massive sidekick in the NWA's World Television Champion, Tyrus. Janice, how are you?
I'm good.
That's good.
To see you and good to see everyone. I'm so glad I got to see Tyrus because
Big
it's
fan.
been. I'm a big fan of you, my
I'm
friend.
a pound for pound bigger fan.
Aw.
Wow, how sweet. Maybe we should just call it a day, you guys.
I'm your fan too, Greg.
Oh, yeah, well, thank
got
you,
a fan here,
TW.
too.
Thank
Kat,
you. That was
Kat, who you got to pick? Janice Dean or Greg? Which
Obviously, I have Janice.
one? Bam. Aw.
Look
You know,
at her.
We've been getting a lot of mail about how we should be changing up the co-host thing.
Crazy, because we get the same letters about the host.
I think you'd be a pretty good co-host.
Oh.
Yeah, give some time off for Kat.
So you agree, Janice? I'm not offended.
I could do some weather.
Yes,
Clean.
some. Only
Water's on
some.
line one.
Have you noticed the shift? Do you look at what I'm talking about? This theory of the shift that it's taking place.
Of course. And I think moms are going to change the world, by the way. I really feel that. You know, don't mess with our kids should be a hashtag for the midterms.
Yeah.
Because what's happening in schools, what's happening with our kids, you know, moms are starting to rise up. They're going to the meetings. They're saying, we're not going to take it anymore. And when one mom stands up and says something, the other moms behind stand up as well. And I think now more than ever, there's a revolution of moms wanting change in this country.
It's funny because generally activists and protesters don't have kids, which gives them the free time. So it's like when you see a parent that's protesting, that's actually a lot of work. TW.
Like date night. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
No,
Yes.
the shift is happening. You can see it, Greg, even, it used to be when you disagreed with liberals, they would just consider you unenlightened, not that smart, not that informed.
Right.
And if you disagree with conservatives, we just considered you godless, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the way it was.
Exactly.
But now it's completely different. Not only do liberals consider you not to be worthy intellectually, but they also think that you have a moral deficit. If you don't agree with me in lockstep 100%, then there's something wrong with your morality. You know, that's the reason they called every American a white supremacist. They called everybody who disagreed with them everything but an American. And unfortunately, or fortunately for us, I think they're going to get rewarded at the ballot box this midterm. Republicans are going to see a huge wave because of the way the woke left has chosen to go.
It is like there is this weird. It is a what's the word I'm looking for? A pendulum. So what TW is talking about is that, like, okay, so when we were not even born, let's say the 50s, we always heard about a repressive 50s culture, that it was a moralism, a puritanical, obsessed with moral behavior. That directly applies to wokeism. That is the new religion. That is why they're obsessed with behavior. They want everybody to comport to the things that they believe is morally true, even though it's kind of an amoral life.
Well, in the 50s, it was backed by like stringent religious beliefs.
Right.
And now it's backed by fantasy beliefs or what sounds good in a think tank.
Yeah.
You know? And if I could just...
This week.
Yeah, this week. That's what I'm saying. It's forever changing.
Yeah. But
we have seen a big change. And honestly, I think you started it. I think Janice Dean started it because no one ever, whenever the Democrats or whenever that left liberal group was challenged, it just didn't happen. People did not challenge them because they were always on the right side of everything. They led with their heart. And your challenge over what happened with your family has changed things to where now we're seeing more people are willing to fight against the liberal left. Before it wasn't worth it because you just didn't get hit. Conservatives don't like you, you have to sit in the back of a church pew. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Or you don't get to wear a tie. But when the Democrats and liberals don't like you, you can't go to a concert.
Can't work.
Well, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
Your social media, you're attacked by everybody. And I think we can't, when history looks back at when this thing changed, you're going to be at the front of it because you started to where people started going, you know what, there's no reason to be afraid. Right is right.
You don't want to put up with an angry wokester because they'll go on social media, they will create mobs. Also, they have the time to just make your life a living hell.
They'll come to your house.
They'll come to your house. So that's what shut up the Democrats. So they couldn't even go after this stuff. But then you have, Janice. Almost called you Dana. See how bad it is?
That's okay. That's a huge compliment.
Oh, stop it.
It is.
No, I'm kidding. But it's like when somebody stands up, it makes it easier for everybody else to stand up. Kat, what do you think of this? You've been targeted before.
Yeah, well, it's really actually crazy because, okay, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I am a mostly lawless heathen, right?
Yes.
So it's crazy that I actually feel more comfortable to, that I can say things in a room full of conservatives than in a room full of leftists.
Of course.
Which is crazy given the fact that I am a lawless heathen.
Yes.
Right? I'm terrified when I'm in a room full of leftists and they ask me any questions like, where do you work? I just gotta leave.
Yeah, no, they will chase you out of there.
I just have to say, you know what? I'm gonna go home.
But I think you can also see this when you think of like lawless heathens like Kat. You see it on Bill Maher's face every Friday. He saw this coming, that when he looks at the other side, Trump was having fun, his rallies were having fun, people were laughing, and his audience wasn't. His audience was in lockstep, and he was fed up with it. That's why you see him distancing himself from his own party's hostilities and wokeism, and you're going to keep seeing that now with, I think, a lot of other maybe vocal Democrats because
they turn on them.
Yeah.
Because he's not part of them anymore.
Yeah.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.